Good afternoon and welcome to the Human Rights Commission meeting, regular meeting. Today is Monday, July 14, 2025. It is 5 o'clock in just a few minutes. And I would like to call this meeting to order. Jeremy, we have quorum, yes?
We have a quorum, and for the record, note all members are present.
That is fantastic. Thank you so much. So welcome. Good evening, commissioners, city staff, Jeremy, and members of the public, both here in City Hall and those joining us remotely. As chair of the Palm Springs Human Rights Commission, it is my honor to welcome you to tonight's meeting. Our work continues to be guided by the values of equity, dignity, and inclusion. Values that are foundational to the mission of this city and to this commission. This evening, we will hear from respected community leaders and partners on the front lines of advocacy, housing, and human development. Their work reflects the life experiences we aim to uplift and support. We will also continue our internal efforts to strengthen how we serve the public, including advancing our 2025 calendar and, of course, the Commission leadership elections. As always, I want to express my appreciation for the commitment and thoughtfulness that each of you brings to the state. Thank you for showing up and for continuing to make space for voices that have too often gone unheard. Let's proceed with tonight's agenda. So, item number 4 is going to be the acceptance of the agenda. And I'm seeking for a motion to accept the agenda.
I move to approve the agenda as presented.
And do we have a second to that motion? Commissioner Paul, thank you. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to amend the agenda.
And how would you like to make the motion to amend the agenda, Commissioner Vignolo?
I would like to motion to amend the agenda to take immediate action on a formal request to council to appoint a member of the council to be a liaison to the Human Rights Commission. And this motion would require a second, and 2/3 of the commission members must vote in the affirmative.
Okay, well, thank you for that motion.
I'm happy to explain my reasons during the discussion of that motion.
Thank you for that motion. We're not gonna do that because we have news that we have communicated with our council members, and one of the council members has accepted to be part of it. Is there any?
That is correct. The Councilmember Garner will be the representative to the commission.
Oh, great. So there's no.
Thank you for sharing that information this evening to the entire commission. When will Councilmember Garner be attending our next meeting? Or will she be attending our next meeting?
I don't have an answer to that.
All right.
Do you know what frequency she will attend?
We're turning it into a discussion item, so I can't do that, but perhaps you
Then
and
I-
I can have a discussion.
I'll put it on the agenda for discussion at our next meeting.
Okay,
That we can do.
that sounds really good.
So we have a first and a second. All we need is a vote for accepting the agenda.
Okay, so let's take a vote to accept the agenda, please. Raise your hand, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very
I'll
much.
vote no on that vote. Thank you.
No. We're gonna move on to presentations. And item 5 has Equality California, Mr. Craig Pulsifer, Legislative Director. And online. Hello, Craig, welcome.
Hi, good afternoon, good evening. It's good to be with you all. Can you hear me okay?
We can.
Is it possible to share slides, or if no slides are possible, I'm happy just to talk through it as well.
I think we can share slides. I'm technologically challenged, so give me a moment. I'm gonna see if I can attempt to allow you to share. You should be able to share now.
Yes, great, perfect. Okay, I think everyone should be able to see now. Again, really appreciate you inviting me to speak with you this evening. Craig Pulsifer, I am the Legislative Director at Equality California. For folks who are not familiar with EQCA, we are a statewide LGBTQ civil rights organization. I am based in Sacramento, so I lead all of our policy and legislative work here. And so I really wanted to quickly share with you, some of the threats that we are seeing, specifically targeted at LGBTQ people and the trans community, and how California and our legislative allies are responding and working to make sure that California remains a safe haven and a leader on LGBTQ rights. So I know I have limited time, so I will uh, go through a lot of information rather quickly. But of course, I'm always happy to answer questions and follow up with folks separately if folks would like to dive in on any of this information in more detail. I think most of you are probably very well aware of what has been happening and it is happening across the country in terms of attacks on LGBTQ people. This year, year over year, we continue to see record numbers of anti-LGBTQ bills across the country. The ACLU is currently tracking about 600 bills in state legislatures across the country, and the vast majority of these bills target the rights of trans, non-binary, intersex people. And of course, the Trump administration has really accelerated the attacks that we have seen in state legislatures across the country and taken these to the White House. So early on in Trump's presidency, he signed at least 5 executive orders specifically targeting the trans community. These covered a range of issues seeking to roll back protections across healthcare, education, housing, public life, and more. And I will talk a little bit more as we move through the presentation, some of the biggest threats that we are seeing and working on. But there are too many to cover in a short presentation. We have also seen additional threats from the U.S. Supreme Court, especially in the current term. Just highlighting a couple of the key decisions here. One that ruled the Tennessee ban on healthcare for trans youth was constitutional and did not merit heightened scrutiny. And another that held that parents can opt the students out of curriculum featuring LGBTQ inclusive books. And again, there were other Supreme Court decisions impacting LGBTQ folks across a range of issues as well. I just wanted to kind of walk through a couple of the kind of key areas that we really have been focused on the most this year, and that's in healthcare, education, and then identification documents for trans and non-binary folks. The Trump administration and agencies have really waged an all-out assault on trans people, but trans youth in particular, and their ability to access medically necessary evidence-based healthcare. And the most concerning threats that we are seeing over the past several months are really attempts to weaponize the Department of Justice and criminalize healthcare providers and withhold funding for hospitals and clinics serving trans youth. These threats, despite California law protecting access to healthcare, despite the leadership of our Attorney General, these threats are already having an impact. Children's Hospital Los Angeles, that serves thousands of trans youth, many in California, but trans youth from across the country, recently announced that it would close its clinic for trans youth effective July 22nd. And so all of those patients are now having to find healthcare elsewhere. And so we're really seeing, despite the protections that we have here in California, kind of a real impact of these threats. And these attacks on providers and clinics, they have only accelerated and will continue to accelerate. So we are certainly doing everything we can here in California to expand protections for healthcare providers and ensure that folks continue to have access to the healthcare they need. But really, this all-out assault from the DOJ is really having a chilling effect on access to care in California. Certainly education, the Trump administration is waging an all-out assault on California, and specifically protections that we have in place for trans youth to participate in sports consistent with their gender identity. These protections have been in place for over a decade, and most recently we saw the Trump administration sued California in this ongoing legal battle and is threatening to withhold federal education over its inclusive policies. And then also in the area of identification documents, the US State Department is attempting to deny trans people the ability to obtain accurate passports that reflect their gender identity. Again, there has been an ongoing legal battle over this policy, and the State Department, because of this litigation, is currently required to allow trans people to apply to obtain accurate passports, but expecting to see ongoing litigation in this arena as well. So we are, of course, working very closely alongside our legislative allies, primarily the California Legislative LGBTQ Caucus, as well as legal experts, community organizations, parent groups, provider groups, many others on strategy to really push back on these threats from the Trump administration and ensure that California remains a safe haven for the community. And so I'm just going to briefly talk about a few of the bills that we are working on this year to really strengthen protections for the community. Across our legislative agenda this year spans a range of issues: family building, safe and supportive schools, worker protections, identity documents, healthcare, housing, privacy. Obviously, do not have time to cover all of those issues tonight, but I wanted to give you a sense of some of the key issues that we are focused on this year. In the area of healthcare, we have three primary bills I wanted to share with you. The first two, AB 82 with Senate Member Chris Ward and SB 497 with Senator Scott Wiener. These bills are really about protecting sensitive medical records and making sure, to the extent possible, that we are preventing out-of-state actors and, to the extent possible, the federal government from accessing confidential medical records pertaining to trans healthcare, and making sure that this information cannot be used to harm providers and patients. And then these bills also include some additional protections to protect providers, patients, and their families from increasing threats to their safety, including harassment. And so both of these bills are really important pieces to strengthen protections that we have in existing law for patients and healthcare providers here in California. This third bill, SB 418 by Senator Caroline Menjivar, this bill is really focused on ensuring continued access to healthcare if the federal government is successful in restricting access to care. And so this bill would specifically allow trans patients to access up to a 12-month supply of hormone therapy, including for gender-affirming care. So again, patients understandably are very concerned about whether they will have access to healthcare next week or next month. And so to the extent that patients can access a year's supply of medication will help to address some of those concerns about the impact of these threats from the federal government. In the area of education, again, there has been an ongoing legal battle, primarily over California laws that protect trans students and their ability to participate in school sports consistent with their gender identity. Again, don't have time to go into kind of each piece of this ongoing legal battle, but I'm sure many, if not all of you, saw that most recently the Trump administration sued California over its trans-inclusive policies. Again, thankfully, we have, strong leadership from the California Department of Education that declined to comply with the federal demands from the U.S. Office for Civil Rights, and the Attorney General Rob Bonta has also been very strong in a range of areas, but on this one especially. And he has said that his office will continue to defend and uphold California law. So expect to see, additional legal action from Attorney General Rob Bonta in the coming weeks. And then one of the bills that we are working on this space, specifically in the area of inclusive curriculum, I mentioned that recent Supreme Court decision. This bill, AB 908 by Senator Solace, would require the California Department of Education to provide greater monitoring and oversight of local school districts to ensure that they are providing LGBTQ inclusive textbooks and curricula. And then in the area of identification documents, we have two bills specifically on really focused on making sure that trans people in California, that they can obtain accurate state IDs without unnecessary barriers or delays. And so this first bill, AB 1084 by Senator Zbur, would essentially expedite the process. And so it would ensure, that folks attempting to obtain a court-ordered name and gender marker change do not have to jump through additional administrative barriers and delays. So this would require those court orders to be issued on an expedited basis. And then the second bill, SB 59 by Senator Scott Wiener, is really again about protecting privacy of individuals in California. And so this bill would require all records, all court records pertaining to name and gender marker changes, ensuring that those records are confidential. We have seen instances of folks accessing these court records and using that information to dox and harass trans people. And so again, given the current environment and the growing threats to the health and safety of trans people across the country, this bill is an additional measure to protect their privacy and safety. Because we have a limited time today, so I didn't want to go through all of the bills that we are working on, but I did just put a list here of some of the LGBTQ specific bills that we are focused on here in California. Again, these address a range of issues around hate crimes, protecting access to PrEP for HIV prevention, ensuring that LGBTQ folks have access to safe and inclusive housing and homelessness services, addressing suicide among LGBTQ youth, protecting LGBTQ families, and protecting LGBTQ workers with inclusive paid family leave policies. And of course, outside of these LGBTQ specific bills, we are actively supporting a host of other bills that are also very much in response to attacks from the Trump administration, notably the attacks on immigrants, the increased immigration enforcement. California lawmakers are advancing several bills in this space, including a few bills that would protect certain locations from ICE raids, particularly schools and healthcare facilities. And then again, there are additional bills that we've been supporting in the immigration space as well. So I did just want to, highlight a few places where I would just recommend for kind of getting additional information about the work that we're doing, opportunities to take action. There is so much happening in this space, as you all know. Every day it feels like we're drinking from a fire hose. It has just been unending in terms of the attacks across the federal government. And so a few different ways I would just recommend to, receive updates about our work. One, we regularly send email updates just about, events, legislation we are working on, opportunities to take action. And so you can sign up to receive email updates on our website. We also started issuing a weekly equality brief. This comes out on Friday. And the equality brief really just has a breakdown of kind of what happened that week in terms of, not only attacks on LGBTQ folks, but also, how California is responding, leadership from our Attorney General, updates on the legislation that we're working on. And so I would highly recommend signing up for that equality brief to receive those updates on Fridays. And then, of course, to the extent that you can, it is always helpful to have organizations, individuals, government bodies who are actively engaged on the legislation that we are working on, sending in support letters, attending hearings, reaching out to your elected officials. I imagine this is all work that is very familiar to the work of this group. And so would encourage folks to, use some of these resources to stay up to date on the work that we're doing. We also do maintain a separate list for community-based organizations and government agencies. And so to the extent, that the Human Rights Commission would be interested in receiving some of those additional updates, please contact me and happy to, share some of those additional updates that we share with government organizations on a regular basis as well. So that is the extent of my presentation tonight. Obviously, it was, very, very brief given how much has been happening in this space and just the scope of the response, both at the state and the federal level. But I am, always happy to meet with folks individually or as a group and talk about the work that we're doing and opportunities to take action, and would welcome any questions from this group as well.
Thank you, Mr. Bosa, for that and very, very detailed presentation. It's just incredible to see the amount of work that the legislative California is doing for extend protections to our LGBTQ folks. Just amazing. Questions, comments from commissioners for Craig?
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, Craig, I assume from what you're saying, you're a lobbyist. Are you a government agency, or could you tell me how you are funded?
Yeah, so Equality California is a nonprofit organization, and we have a 501c3 and a 501c4, and so most of my work falls under the C4. So you're correct, I am a registered lobbyist for Equality California. And then we do have, funding comes from a range of sources, donations in particular, as well as we do have some state grants as well.
Do you publish a list of your major donors when you file your yearly taxes, or is that available?
Yes, everything that nonprofits are required to publish is available on our website. And so certainly if you go to our website, there will be a space on there where you can access all of our end of year tax documents, and that will have, all the information that we're required to report as a 501c3 and C4.
What's a 4? I don't know. I'm familiar with 3. What's a 4?
A slightly different tax designation in the sense that, there are different limits in terms of what 501c3 and 501c4 nonprofit organizations can do. And so C4 organizations can engage in lobbying activities in a different way. And so
yeah, because 3 can't.
Yeah, so specifically just the amount of advocacy, lobbying, also in our engagement on political campaigns and elections, most of that work falls under the C4 arm of the
Yeah, because 501c3s are forbidden from doing that. So yeah, okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Yes.
One quick question.
Really
Yeah, hello, Ricky. I was wondering with DOJ and the people that are being able to access Social Security files, private information, and even identify information about undocumented illegals, being able to access information that was previously protected with privacy. How are you being able to stem that kind of access that they're already penetrating? how are some of this legislation being able to protect what's already been happening? From
Yeah. Yeah, so that is a fantastic question. And I think the answer twofold, I'll just give one concrete example. We recently saw state Medicaid data. So, healthcare data, folks who are accessing the Medicaid program, that information was shared with the Department of Homeland Security for purposes of immigration enforcement. California was not able to prevent that transfer of data from happening. The Attorney General has filed litigation specifically on that issue. And so there is kind of a legal component in terms of how, California and the Attorney General can respond to some of those threats. At the same time, legislatively, some of our bills are specifically responding to that issue. And so two of the bills in the healthcare space that I mentioned, SB 497 and AB 82, both of those bills relate to California's Cures database. This is a database that maintains information about prescriptions for controlled substances in California. Certainly, some of that data contains information that could, that is related to healthcare for trans people. And so both of those bills would put some additional safeguards in terms of how law enforcement agencies, for example, could access that data, and would prevent law enforcement agencies from accessing that data without a warrant or court order. So I guess the short answer to your question is we are doing everything we can to put protections in place, and at the same time recognize that there are limits to what we can do when the federal government is ignoring ignoring existing privacy protections and sharing that data with other government agencies.
You had a question?
I was just gonna, I just want to thank you for your presentation, Craig. It was very informative and filled me in on stuff that I wasn't aware of or didn't have the information on. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for inviting us, and thank you for your interest in the work that we're doing, and certainly any support that you all can provide is always welcome.
Craig, can you pass this PowerPoint presentation to the commission whenever you have a chance? Or
Yeah.
through?
Yeah, Craig, if you could email it to me, I'll send you a reminder and then I can disseminate it to the group.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Yes, I will send it over to you. Thank you.
No question? Come.
Hey, Craig, I just want to say thank you for all the work you and the team do at Equality California. I know how important it is because I get my democracy docket email all the time and I read it top to bottom. And I also love that you do remind people that in this mass of sadness and frustration, we also are having wins along the way too. Maybe little ones, but there are wins there. So it's important to sort of keep the flame alive. But thank you for all that you guys do.
Yeah, thank you. And yeah, very, grateful to be in California and have, strong leadership from the Attorney General, strong legislative allies, doing as much as we can in the face of just a really hostile federal administration. So yeah, I appreciate it.
Thank you, Craig. That's a wonderful presentation. Can you please just for the public remind us what is the website URL?
Yeah, so if you go to eqca.org is our website, and then on our website you can sign up for regular email updates, and then you can also sign up for the equality brief, and the slides I share will have links to those resources as well. So we'll make sure that you all receive those.
Much appreciated. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks,
you
Craig.
very much.
All right, appreciate it. Thank you.
Next presentation is on Homeless and Community Development Department, Roman Reese from Homeless Services, is Homeless Services Coordinator. Welcome, Roman.
Hi. Thank you.
Come on up here.
Okay. I'm very good at giving chickens and let's start that way, but my presentation is pretty simple. Thank you everyone for letting me come through or asking me to come through. My name is, oh, sorry, Director. Is it off?
Press the-
Press the
Push the
little
little button.
Oh, sorry, yes, don't know anything. Hello, everyone. My name is Roman Reese. I'm the outreach coordinator, the homeless outreach coordinator for the city of Palm Springs. And my presentation is pretty simple. It's gonna be more about questions than anything else, really. But with the first, next slide. So, you know, so who I am, my name is Roman Reese. I'm the homeless coordinator. And so what my role, I think what it was supposed to be as opposed to what it is changed a little bit. I think when I first started it and when I got the job, it was more of kind of just doing outreach and just kind of finding the homeless. Where were they? What are they doing? How are they surviving? Those kinds of things. And my role is still that. And it's kind of blossomed into something a little bit more where it's now I'm doing a lot more of administrative tasks as well as trying to be the one guy that's doing all of these things, and also trying to navigate systems for individuals, social service systems, medical systems, all of these different systems, housing systems. I was having a conversation with Ariel, who is my coworker. She does housing, most of it, and we were talking about how the barriers are just stacked up against our homeless individuals. So now, next slide, yes. And so some of these not so fun facts are the fact that, you know, currently, you know, the fastest growing homeless population is 55 and over. And it's, you know, with that big boom of the baby boom, and everybody's now getting older. So we're starting to see that. And the incomes are not matching. You know, individuals that retire and had what they thought was a good amount at one point is not going to cut it anymore. It's not cutting it anymore. And we're finding more and more elderly are being kicked out of their residence. You know, they're losing their homes and now having to have nothing. They don't have family members that are still alive to help. They don't have the systems, the support systems that they had before. So they're really struggling. So that's one of the biggest facts that's happening. It's not so fun. 20% of all persons counted during the PIT count, which is the homeless point in time count that we do every year. So 20% of them were over 55. And I say over 55, like that's the number, and it's really closer to 60 and higher that we're seeing this starting age. There are many homeless that are lower age, of course, and but in this valley we're seeing much more of the adults that are, you know, aging, so that we have our elderly. So half the senior population, 55 and over, are chronically homeless. Chronically homeless means, you know, you're going for individuals who have been homeless more than once within a 12-year period. That's HUD's definition. So, and it could just mean like, you know, they lost their home and then they were staying with someone for 6 months and then they got kicked out of that place. So now they're homeless. That's their first time. And then, you know, they go and live with someone for another 2 years and now they get homeless again. Something happens, you know. So that now is breaking up the cycle of someone who's in their place. They have the support, and then it stops. They have to start over again, and every time they have to start over again, they have to deal with the whole new system because the systems are changing each time. So we're having, I guess you can next slide. We're having seniors that are kind of just lost because they don't have the understanding of what they knew before is no longer in place. So now they're having to try to navigate a brand new system. They're already declining, and unfortunately, many, you know, decline as they age. And now when you're homeless, your cognitive systems are just going to decline daily. You're just because of the onslaught, the bombardment of all the different information that you're getting, the fact that you're stressed. You know, you don't know where your next meal is coming from. You don't have enough money just to get on the bus. Someone's yelling at you because you're moving too slow and you have all this stuff with you. So there's a lot of barriers. There's a lot of things that our elderly are having to deal with. And even though that's not the whole population of homeless, it seems to be the largest right now. And it's the largest population that I seem to be constantly working with. They're always elderly individuals. I've yet to really deal with a lot of people that are younger that I have to keep going and seeing over and over and over again, because it's like I can give them a task to do, they'll do it, they come back, it's done, and we move on to the next thing. Whereas with the elderly, they're running into a lot of just barriers. It just may be that someone's not wanting to be patient enough. The individual doesn't have the words to ask the question because they're confused, or something like that. Something happened that traumatized them earlier in the day, and now they're trying to have to navigate a system and people are just bombarding them with these questions. And then, if they don't have the correct answers at the time, they just get pushed aside. Okay, come back. Come back tomorrow. And it's just prolonging the problems. So with this one here, so serving single individuals, these are like kind of the misinformation of that, that shelters are serving single individuals. Many of the individuals, there are many of them are couples, or they are finding support within each other. So they're maybe not a traditional couple, but they are support system. So they should be treated as a couple of two people that are working together to try to get through the system together. And we're not seeing that way. We're not experiencing people that way, or we're not really accepting them that way. So it's more like we are dividing them. So we are causing the trouble now. We're not helping this individual or these individuals. We are making it worse. We're making the problem worse for them. So we're seeing things like that happen. With our shelters, it's just the need is so great, and the volume of people doing the work is just not as great. And so we get people that are tired, all of these kinds of, they're stressed, and then they're being asked to do this really very difficult job of just sit there and listen to someone who needs to tell their story. And it gets very, very difficult to be able to navigate and kind of, differentiate. What do I need to give my time to as the worker, as the social worker that I am? What do I need to really give my time to this person? How do I best utilize my time with them? Because I don't have much time. So how do I do it? So it's just becoming a juggling act. And I know that all the service providers are dealing with this on a daily basis. So I say all of these things to just kind of give you the just kind of basis of this is what the day-to-day is looking like for our homeless individuals. They're just constantly having to fight for just the basics of being, accepted, that this is who they are, this is their situation that they're in, can you help? And it's just that kind of thing. So some of the misconceptions that people are reluctant to receive care. Some of that may be true, but most of it is not, because they're not reluctant to receive care. They just don't want the care that we are offering, because some of the care that we're offering is just the basics. Like, I can give you a bottle of water. I can tell you to go to the library and sit there. You need to have a email address. Well, maybe they don't have one. They don't know how to make it. So it's that process again. Now they're stuck. And if you don't have the time to help them, they're stuck, and they're stuck for a long time, because we all know how important email is. It's a very important means of communication. And for our unhoused individuals that don't always have a phone, or it gets lost, it gets stolen, all those kinds of things are happening. They really need to know that this is the form of communication that's the best. So we need to try to help and get them, and that's a process right there, because then it's now teaching someone how to use the computer that hasn't really used it very much. So and all of these things just slow the process down. So everyone's just trying to catch up to a train that's been moving for a long time at a speed that we just don't even know anymore. So it's getting tougher. So the navigation center has resolved everything. That's another misconception. I hope that everyone knows that that's not happening. It has helped tremendously. Because the people that are there, they're stable, or feeling a little bit more stable. They can eat every day. They can shower every day. They know where they're going to wake up. They know those kinds of things, who's going to be around them, that kind of thing. And they're building a support system again. Something that where they're in the space with everyone who's in the same, we're running the same program, doing the same thing, and how can we help each other? And we're seeing that happening a lot more now with the navigation center because people are centralized and they're getting the support from both the staff as well as each other. We're starting to see these, you know, where people are now considering things that they weren't considering before. Like, okay, I will think about getting an apartment with someone else. You know, I don't have to live by myself anymore. You know, so these ideas are now starting to come in to play, which is going to help in general because we know the housing's a shortage. And so if we can get people to double up, triple up, however many times you got to do it, then so be it. You know, at least we can get you in somewhere inside. You know, you're not outside dealing with the elements. So that's something that we're working with. So the pods versus the access center. I don't know how many are familiar with the pods being the navigation center and the big beautiful buildings, the pods that they have, the modulars there. So there's that, and then there's the access center. The access center is the starting point. It's the small old boxing club, which was I guess the old DMV. So it's a small building. And it's the starting point for everyone who is unhoused, just to get basic information. It's a small building. There's a lot of people in there, and there's a lot going on. I don't know how many of you have ever taken a tour or walked around in that building, but I mean, it's not something that I would necessarily want you to go take a tour of because it's not the city at its best, I would say. And yet it is what we have to work with right now. So we're working with it the best we can. But those are the kinds of things that, again, that we're working with and we're trying to fight against. And so sometimes we're fighting against ourselves, basically. You know, these are the support systems that we want to put out there and we want to give them the best. But then we're also lagging a little bit on how our presentation is, you know, so people are maybe not getting all the information that they need all the time because there is so many people needing the assistance and not enough staff to assist everyone. So they may be getting, you know, a little bit here and a little bit there, and then getting it from each other, which is not always the best way to do it because, you know, someone overheard a conversation or things like that are happening. So those are also things that we're having to work on and really try to, you know, hone in. How do we make this more of an efficient system, you know, so everyone's getting the same information and they know what they need to do, because so many people, they don't know what they need to do. If it's your first time, I don't know how many of you would be able to manage going like, I don't have anything anymore. A dollar to my name. I don't have a you know, as they say, you know, I don't have anything to do with anything. I don't have a phone. I don't have an email. I can't figure out where do you start. So the access center is where they need to start. So we need to start there as far as making sure that everything that we can do in that first, you know, minute of meeting this person can be done, and they know that we're doing everything that we can do. So those are some of the things that I'm working on right now, just to try to get us to a point where we can accept people and they can feel accepted and they can feel like they're going to get the help that they need. Maybe not immediately, but they are on that road. They're in that process of doing it. So many of our individuals just don't have that right now. They don't have that, at least even the security of knowing that I can go here and get the proper information to help me move forward. Because I mean, I tell everyone, this is not going to happen overnight. It's not even going to happen within a week or a month. We're going to have to work, and we're going to be working through a lot of different, you know, trials and tribulations. I mean, there's going to be things that are popping up all the time, and we're going to have to combat them together. So we're always going to have to be working together to figure out different ways to get through this, for you to get through this. So those are some of the things that I'm doing now. So the reality of the boxing club is small. It's, you know, we're serving families, seniors, we're serving families, and I mean families, families of 4, 5, 6, you know, so we're having children, little ones, you know, babies and toddlers, you know, so going all the way up to teenagers that are having to manage all of the things that they're having to manage. And you put a kid into that whole element, and it's just one big, you know, ball of not fun. I mean, it just, because you're getting all the questions from the child, and you're trying to answer them as the adult for them, and it's just, you can't do it. So it just becomes even more daunting. So just trying to figure out ways to help to lessen some of those stresses is the biggest part of the job. And then there's the barriers of not having bus passes, not having, phones, not being able to, get around to make appointments that they have to go to. People need to get their social security cards, they need to get their IDs, they need to get birth certificates. These things are not easy to get if you don't have the transportation to get to the place to do them. They're not easier to get if you don't have the phone to call to make an appointment, or a computer to get on to make an appointment. And so all of these systems we've put together thinking that we're helping, sure, but if you don't know how to get there first, how many people can we really help? So it's right now, because our population is as large as it is, and when I say large, for a city this size, we have somewhere in the ballpark of 500 or so on any given day. And this is PD's, our police department's tally, because they're working out there all day, every day, and they see. And so they know a lot of the homeless by name. They know where they are, they know where they go, all of these things. And they will at any given time tell you that they're running into, the same people over and over. But then there's also the new ones that are coming through. People are coming through the city, they're transient because they know this Palm Springs is the biggest city in the valley. So they're going to have the most resources, which is true. And so they're getting taxed. Our resources are getting taxed daily. And so it gets even harder to try to lessen some of these barriers. Let's see. So I think next slide, we can go to the next slide. So some of the barriers, it's not having the bus passes, things like that. Our residents are getting, if they can get a job, they are forced to try to manage on how much they make versus what the caps of what they can make to be eligible for the programs that we so want them to be in. People are making more than the programs will allow. So that's where I would come to, you all and say, do you have any legislative power that we can go and say, hey, we got to try to change some of these things. These are the things that we need to change. We need to make sure that, if you have no income, that you qualify for every program. If you make less than, what a part-time person would make, with 30 or 20 hours, 25 hours a week, if you make less than that, you're on the, you're in the poverty line. You need to be able to qualify for every program that is available to you. I mean, it's just ridiculous that we have people that are having to not work so that they can, get into a program that's going to take them 6 months before they can even get put on a wait list for housing. It just doesn't make any sense. So having to work through those barriers and then trying to explain all of these things to this individual who just wants to go and lay down somewhere safe. I have to try to explain, well, you don't qualify for this, or you don't qualify for this, and I can't get you this help, and I can't get you that help. So this person is left with the question of, well, what can you do for me then? And that's the question that makes me crazy all the time, because I am lost at many times to say, I'm not really sure right now. I don't know what I can do, but this is what I'm going to do. And it might just be the simple thing of, I'm going to sit here and listen to you, and maybe something's going to come to me and you, and we're going to figure it out together. Sometimes it's just as simple as, let's try to find you someplace safe right now, and see if we can work from there. Those are the worst things I have to say, but I have to say them quite a bit, and so it hurts the most. Telling, so these are all kinds of just random things that I came up with. I don't know how, now that I'm looking at it, so I don't know how much you really want to know about these things. So, or if I'm not telling you enough. So next slide, I think. Let's see. I think this pretty much, yeah. So these are the questions that I have. Yes, please.
So sorry.
Oh.
Talking to Mike, hello. I think you should talk about this because this is something that maybe they can talk about with like the board and like the odd hours. Like they can only be there.
Well, so this is, yeah. So this is just talking about the barriers, most just in the basics with the Access Center. These are things that we're having to manage, and going to a meeting tomorrow with our provider and our PD and housing development, just to try to lessen some of these barriers. Like we're gonna be talking about, how can we make sure that we get bus passes for these individuals? Even if it's just a week, at a time, where they're struggling to do that. We're struggling to make sure that they can, many of the homeless do have jobs, and believe it or not, but yet they're still they're forced to be in the shelter. So they're having to, because they have to show all of these follow all the rules of the navigation center and the access center, then they have to tell their bosses that they're in this situation, which is not always the best thing for them, because they will get discriminated against, and they know that. And so they're trying to juggle that. So we have to, as a group or as a collective, myself, the staff, have to figure out ways that we can lessen these barriers and still get the safety rules that we're trying to put down. And that's what it comes down to, is maintaining the integrity of the program with safety first, but knowing that some of the rules that we've put in place are not necessary. So we have to be able to sit together and say, what are the rules and why are they there? And just making everyone understand that is really the part of the problem, is that because there are individuals that have the idea that we need to enforce rules because we need to make sure everybody's safe. But then there's the idea, well, but these are adults that have lives that they need to go about so that they can progress. So if we put too many rules and all these things on them, we're putting down.
One of the things, hi everyone, my name is Ariel Williams. I'm the Housing Services Administrator here in the city, and that I work with demand because you can't resolve homelessness if you can't house them. So one of the things, and one of the reasons I wanted to make sure that Roman touched on this, is because we spend a lot of time talking about processes. Like, well, how are you going to do it? How are you going to get it done? And we spend so much time in it. I think so many people at a high level talk about, well, this is what you need to do. But just like Roman said, these are not children. These are not people that have to be in school to make the 3 every day. These are adults, and everyone, like all of us sitting around the table, our schedules all look so different throughout the day. Even though it's like we all had to end up here, we all did whatever random things is today. Maybe you didn't eat lunch, maybe you woke up at 2 p.m., like whatever, right? But as adults, you're able to do all of those things. And yet we're telling people who have lived their whole lives as basically functional adults, and a lot of people who, especially if they've been in house or chronically in house for a long time, they have really done whatever and didn't have to live by a lot of rules that quote unquote society puts on people. So now we're telling them to come in and say, okay, well, you have to do this. You
Have to stand in line.
You have to
wait
stand in
for
line.
this.
The access center opens at 8 a.m. So if you did not stay overnight, you can't come until 8 a.m. and then you're gonna stand in line for 2 hours and hope you get a shower. And then if you want a bed, you have to sign up and hope that your name's going to get called. And if you have not stayed there before, you need to be back before 1 or 2 p.m. to make sure that you hear your name get called so you can get a bed. And then the access center closes at 3:30. So what is that? 4.5 hours in between. And remember, these are people who have no documents. So you need to go get your ID. I don't know how many people have tried to change their name. I just got married, so I'm in the process of doing it. I just had to go to Social Security and all of that. I sit at a computer all day. I help people do this, and I'm still like, well, God, what do I need? I need to make an appointment. What? And so it's like I'm around all this all day. I know how to do it. I was able to drive there, and I still spent 30 minutes talking to them, scheduling the appointment, making sure all my documents are ready so I can come back in a week and a half. I fully able to drive around. I was able to go in the middle of the workday and do all of that. Now someone is on foot from the access center here on El Cielo all the way down Ramon, and it's 137 degrees out.
And they haven't eaten.
They haven't eaten.
They didn't sleep well the night before, or at all.
They're not allowed to sleep.
Right.
And so it's like we have all of these things that people are going through, and if they just do the basic things like go to sleep, wake up, potentially take a shower, and go eat lunch, that's the entire day. So then it's like, well, why can't you just go get a job? where am I supposed to work that I can only work 2 hours a day? What am I supposed to do that that's what I can do? So I also have to tell my supervisor that if I want to work more than 2 hours a day, hey, by
This
the
is what
way, I'm staying at a homeless shelter, so now you know more information about me than I wanted you to know about me, and now you're going to judge me and think that I'm not worth it, even though there's plenty of people who are in house and you may not know just by looking at them, because okay, so we've got plenty of people who are seniors, there's a lot of seniors who take a lot of pride in themselves, and we have people that it's like they've worked for a very long time, but their spouse died and now, they still have all of their clothes and their makeup and, whatever else, so you wouldn't know they're homeless, but now if and we do have people who are 80 years old trying to get jobs or trying to do anything because they only make $1,200, but now they're going to do that stuff, so. Sorry to interrupt, but I wanted to make sure that Roman hit on some of these barriers because we literally go in a circle every day talking about why these processes are here because you cannot do anything. It's like they're saying like, oh, well, you've got 8 to 3. Like, no, we get on the bus from the north side of town to come over here. That bus holds 8 people at a time. There's 50 people in the bed. So however long it takes to get here, now I'm in line for 2 hours to shower and I need to walk across town because the churches are doing lunch and it's 10 a.m. Lunch starts at 11. I have to 1. So I might want to start getting over there with me and all my stuff. So it's like we go in the circle over.
I mean, and even just, I mean, I'm listening to her say it and I'm thinking, I know that they do this and this is making me tired just thinking about it.
Right.
Could you imagine doing this every day, all day? So
Well, go ahead, you can do the next slide.
No,
I just wanted
that's-
to make sure that we
yeah.
touched on the barriers because I
this is
think
why she's important to me, because I can't do these things by myself half the time. So like I was saying, these are some of the questions that I had for you, like the things of, have you walked through the Access Center? Has anyone ever walked through the Access Center? Have you seen it? Do you know what it looks like? Like I said, it's not necessarily something I want you to do because I'm proud of it, but if you did it, I think everyone would have an opinion, and your opinion would want things to change. Bottom line,
I think that's really important. I think that's really important for all of us to know what it is,
Mhm.
because I don't know how many know what it is or
Right.
been there. I haven't.
And I mean, even if you walked in and just asked, tell me what the process is. Just getting that information, I bet would be a process for you, because I don't know if the person right there could tell you, literally, this is what you're gonna have to do, 1, 2, 3, and this is the way it's gonna go. Because it doesn't happen like that sometimes, so
Next question.
please, yeah,
What days is the Access Center open?
it's open every day,
7 days?
7 days a week, from 8 to, like you said,
3-ish.
8 to 3-ish, but really it's 8 to 5. But that 8 to 3 is because that's by the 3 o'clock is when they start getting people ready to go to the navigation center. But it is open 8 to 5. So anytime you walk in there. Yes, please.
Sorry, quick question.
No,
First of all, you
please.
did a really good job. So well done. So when you talk about the problem with the hours, and how they don't work for people who are experiencing homelessness, right? It just does not work. Has there been a meeting with, I think it's Martha's Village who runs, have there been meetings? Are they open to changing those hours? Are you hitting roadblocks?
Creating roadblocks.
So, yeah, roadblocks is the nicest way to say
Sure.
it. But contract we've had with Martha's has been in effect for a long time. Roman and I have both been working for the city for 2.5 years and have been waiting for us. They're stuck to the contract and there's not a lot of room for negotiating, though we've tried. And I think there have been some edits to the contract, which have helped. But this is one of those things, because Martha's does this in another city, they're like, nope, we're gonna do it like this,
Right.
this is it. It's not necessarily all best practices, which I think we would be fine if it was best practices, but it's just more just like, no, this is how we're gonna do it. This is the easiest way for staff.
And the hardest thing too
So-
is that the idea of best practice, I mean, homelessness has been around for a long time. And at the level that it is new for many cities, and there is no one way, as we know, to do anything. We say best practice because that's what we found to be best practice. And there's not as many best practices that we found in the shelter system. So a lot of them have to be created, but they have to be created with the person in mind. So a lot of the best practices need to happen with, the experience of the unhoused talking to someone that it has the power. to make these choices and the changes, and that's not happening. So a lot of it is just trying to get that to happen. And we're getting pushback, and we're getting pushback, and we're getting pushback. So we just have to keep, going through and going through and going
Can I
through.
just ask you, I mean, is there any engagement with the city council so that they're aware of what your frustrations are?
That's kind of just
What's your
starting.
relationship with the?
That's kind of just starting is what I'm getting now. It's even though it's been there.
7 or 8 months, we started having more conversations
Right.
with city council to say like, hey, just so you know, these things are happening. Candidly, it's not always popular for us to say negative things are happening about this thing we spent a lot of money on.
Yeah.
And I fully understand that.
Yeah.
However, I will say that I think this is pretty true that Roman and I are the only ones working as city staff.
Yeah.
Especially at City Hall. I know like other people with parks and libraries, like they obviously encounter, but that have the experience that we have with the unknown population. So it's like, hey, these are the things that we've seen that can work. These are things that we could do. Like maybe we'll talk about them. Like,
Yeah.
it gets a little.
Please.
Well in the desert, you know that they give lunch.
The Well in the Desert is the biggest, or as the only facilitator of the lunches for the unhoused. They are the only ones in the city. And so that's a big burden for them. It's a lot. They don't get any funding from the city, unfortunately, and they get maybe a little bit of federal funding. Again, it's because it's not even a nonprofit. Well, they are a nonprofit, but it's just a group of volunteers that have gotten together and they're doing what they can do. So there's not the leadership to say that we need to apply for these grants and we need to get these things going. They just don't have that, that kind of structure right now. So they're there and they're doing what they can, and it's really just what they can right now. So, and I know they want to do more, they just don't have the capacity
It
to
must
do
be
it.
difficult for the homeless to be able to go to those rotating.
Exactly. If they can't get there, and like Ariel said, it's from 11 to 1. That's it. You don't have time. If you can't get there, you can't get there.
But Martha's Village now has the contract for the navigation center.
They do have the navigation center and the access center. Unfortunately, there are things that are happening where they're not able to take people to the lunches anymore. So now everyone has to get there on their own. And that's not the easiest thing to do.
And what's also concerning is now with, the funds, the federal funding that we were using to pay for the navigation center has now run dry. And I know that Councilmember Garner and a few others are really working hard to find new avenues of funding.
So that answers your question about who's the connection there. And Councilman Garner is definitely, she's right up there as the top one. And that's who we have meetings with when we do. And, she's trying to help us get some of these changes to happen quicker.
What else can a Human Rights Commission do?
That was the question I was thinking too. What else can the Human Rights Commission do? And I'm not sure. I have to say, I'm not sure. I would ask you, what do you think you can do?
Yeah, I mean, we wrote down a question, how far does your reach go?
Yeah.
So,
We can only,
can you tell council?
I think we can only advocate, hearing what you're very passionate
I
about
am.
what you do.
I am.
I could sense your frustration, appreciate that. I think we can,
This is.
if we take on.
I know, this is me calm, I know.
We can advocate on your behalf,
That would be,
and that's about all we can do.
I have a question. CVAG, which is the Coachella Valley
yes,
area governments, they do have a homeless committee.
right. Are any of you familiar with that homeless committee? Are any of you sit on the homeless committee?
You gotta be invited.
Okay, so there we go. Let's get invited. I don't even go to their meetings. I don't know when they are. I mean, I've been trying to get just that little things.
Hush, hush.
Yeah.
Especially about homelessness, they keep it very close to the vest, and we do know that they are in and around the city, and we know that they do provide some services to very specific people. We don't know how certain people get chosen or don't chosen.
Yeah.
We don't know when it happens until one of those residents calls us and tells us something wrong happened with CVAG, and we're like.
Would you
okay, what's
suggest that
going on?
maybe there could be a homeless committee out of here to report back to HRC? And
We could do something like that. The biggest part of it is making sure that we have lived experience on that committee, and that we're taking that lived experience and that conversation that would come from it, we're actually doing something with it. Because to really say, because to be honest with you, I mean, Ariel and I could be the whole committee and then we can pick our experience, our lived experience person weekly or daily for the most part. And then we could come to you and give you all kinds of information that, that would be more of what I'm saying now and, even more, but we could give you that all the time. I could do that for you every week, every month, however times you have meetings, I can do that for you. It would just be more like, so that you don't hear my frustration, it would be like, what are we gonna do with the information that I gave you this week?
So as a reminder, this is a really important point, and is that, during our meetings, this is for public.
Mhm.
And these kinds of updates are essential. And you're always gonna be welcome to share, comment, visit, and provide these updates. As you're talking to the public.
That's great. I can give you a couple of things right now.
We can do in this space.
Let us
Interrupt for
oh,
1 second, folks, and make sure that we're not running into a Brown Act violation.
Okay.
Just for the commission itself. This item is listed on the agenda as a presentation. So if we want to have a more robust discussion,
Understand.
someone, when we get to discussion items, commissioner member comments, let someone take on a motion to move it to a future meeting to have a more sort of a deeper dive conversation. So let's just be very careful. Your qualifying questions, certainly okay, but let's not get too far into conversation without inviting the group back for more conversation, and I'm seeing nodding.
Yeah, please do
I assume
that.
You'll
Yeah.
certainly come back.
I mean, obviously I am passionate, so I can talk about this subject all day, every day for the rest of my life. So,
Round of applause for them. Thank you for all the work that you do.
yes, and any other questions every time you wanna?
I'm not cutting off your presentation. You can keep going, slide 7 and 8. That's not, I was just talking for the group not to go too far down the discussion route.
No, this was my last slide, but just to answer the question about the CV link or to think about the CVAG is they are out there, and it's true, they are doing what they can, but they are a small group of outreach providers. I mean, I think there's only 3 of them as far as I know, and they cover the whole valley from here to Blythe. So they got a lot of work to do, and yeah, they got a lot of work to do, and they're doing what they can. And within the city of Palm Springs and really within the valley, they are working ideally with the 200 most chronically homeless individuals of the valley. So, and we have a big chunk of those people. We have a good, right now that I know of, there's at least 45 on the list of the 200. And that's only because they want to make sure that we don't take up the whole list, but we could easily do it. So it's just making sure that other cities get a little piece of their action as well. So that's what they're doing. They are going out there and they are doing homeless services. They are providing outreach. They are letting people know that they do have services available, and they will go through that process with any individual that they can make contact with. Now, the things like where I was thinking maybe the CV link is that, maybe there was a way that you all could talk to, CVAG and see about, helping that move things along, like getting, just water fountains at some of the stations that are out there. Those things are not that there. We don't have any city public restrooms. There's one in the city. There's one public restroom in the city. I don't even know if anybody knows about that one public restroom.
Well, that could be part of an action plan when we go
Yeah.
after the next meeting.
Yes.
You've got some great ideas that we can
Yeah.
follow.
So these would be great. It could definitely go on and on and on. But I don't wanna take up
Thank you so very, very much. Yes.
Thank you, thank you.
We went to presentation 5C, it's a subcommittee report, by Vice Chair Dino and Commissioner Reedy.
Okay. I think we have a slide
Bear with me
back.
1 second so I can pull this up here. All right, here's a clicker. Who wants the clicker?
You can just advance them. We'll just say advance slides.
Okay, so let me introduce, what we have presented here. David Fignola and I had met as being advised from our previous committee to review some of the initiatives and recommendations we could take in support of the Human Rights Commission. So our agenda covers 3 areas. Now, one of them we've already
You can
discussed.
advance.
Pardon me?
I was letting him know he could advance the slide.
Oh, okay, yeah, agenda items. So, the council liaison appointment, we did have some recommendations and discussions about that. And I know David had, discussed with the city council.
Well, I think the council liaison appointment obviously is overshadowed by the breaking news that Councilmember Garner will be the council liaison, so we can skip right to sponsorship of documents.
Okay, well, yeah, I'd
Sure.
like to walk through some of these, these,
Well,
slides.
we can, but the council liaison has already been appointed.
But now crafting what the responsibilities for that liaison, because we've had a liaison previously. But it was like random appearances. There wasn't really focused interest in what we would be doing. I think now we're sort of refreshed. We're like into the Human Rights Commission too. We have all 9 commissioners here. So I think that our agenda is going to expand in our activities. So having a council member and describing those activities. The other items, a sponsorship of a documentary showing. The third one is facilitating community dialogue and a march for peace.
He went too far.
Okay, so the council liaison appointment. Okay, you can move. So again, I think everybody is fairly in agreement about having a city council liaison being invested in coming here and can also and also present our policies that we would recommend to the city council with various mechanisms, and also just another representative to support the marginalized communities. So the things that we represent, this city council person would be able to push some of these things forward or make or underscore them during the city council meetings.
Mhm.
Next slide. Please jump in.
No, you're
Okay.
good.
Okay, and here's the suggested responsibilities. Maybe this is something we need to talk to Grace about. So attending commission meetings, we talked about quarterly would be good. Would be good. More would be occasionally okay. But I think quarterly would be, we agree, would being able to kind of keep up what we're doing and recommending. Reporting back to council. Yeah, a key responsibility is communicating what we have back to the council, what we would like her to communicate. And certainly getting her feedback about what's possible. And then advocating for human rights, obviously, and then coordinating with the other stakeholders and the city council, whoever they might be, other nonprofits in the community we don't know about. Okay, next. So, I mean, I think we can, and the outcomes, 3-month timeline, improved communication. One expected outcome is improved communication between the commission and the council. Fostering enhanced collaboration and efficiency, and then increased advocacy. We need somebody to advocate for what we're doing to the city council, giving us a voice to the city council, because they already are probably overwhelmed with a lot of the nuts and bolts decision making with the planning commission, the reviewing contracts, budgets, etc. Next slide. Okay, so this is an item for discussion. Some of us have seen No Other Land, which is a documentary showing the issues of the Palestinian occupation, and how over the past 2 years they've been pushed out of their home, displaced 3 and 4 times, while Israeli bulldozers were creating new settlement. So they were kind of being really displaced, and this describes it with the help of a Israeli journalist, and it's a wonderful documentary. This is something we could possibly sponsor. We wanted to talk more about this, or it would be something that would be a way of trying to introduce another point of view. Maybe partnering with interfaith communities. We can't align ourselves with a politically, explosive situation, but how can we expose the people of Palm Springs to another point of view? Next slide. Then we talked about event details, the venue, and David, do you want to talk about speaking to David Lazar and Aziz?
Well, this is the film that was shown at the Cultural Center in May. And so I did reach out to Rabbi
David
Lazar, who was on the panel, and just got basic information about the logistics of how he obtained the rights to show the film at that venue. What would it be, involved if we were to sponsor a second showing? Because I know, for example, Commissioner Horn had not seen the film and expressed an interest in seeing it. So that's all we're, obviously, whether we show this film, another documentary, there's many different documentaries out there that show different aspects of conflict resolution, we can explore those. But we don't want to, Commissioner Rinky and I did not want to go too deep into this without first getting the buy-in of the commission, because it will be a lot of work. And it will take all of us to make it happen. So, we're just presenting a very high-level overview of possible items that we can execute should the commission as a full body decide it wants to pursue this initiative. So, there's lots of things that would have to happen, whether we showed this film, another documentary, or a short, brief YouTube video even. So we can go on to the next
You
slide.
can advance the next slide.
This was one of the documentaries that the rabbi mentioned as a possible alternative to No Way Out, that the commission might want to consider, again, if the commission thinks this is a worthwhile initiative to pursue. So we wanted to at least mention it in our presentation. Back to you.
And before we launch into the discussion, the next slide, Jeremy,
What is the slide?
facilitating community dialogue.
So this is the third recommendation.
Yes, the third recommendation, and a community dialogue is a way of getting people to sit down and listen and understand points of view. And raising awareness, gathering community input, getting residents to come in and dialogue, presenting some kind of a platform, a gathering situation where people could come together, and also empowering the
If
residents.
you can go to the next slide.
Yeah, that they can feel
Yeah.
that they're able to make a difference. And so the potential topics for discussion, included local human rights issues.
Do you want to go on?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I think you have the next slide.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
Okay,
Potential
yeah.
topic.
Yeah, potential topics, local human rights issues. And this is something David and I had spoken with the California Civil Rights Department attorneys, called the Community Conflict Resolution Unit. And these folks, their job is really to help reduce intercommunity tensions. They have a lot of experience. We spoke to them, for them presenting to our group, the Human Rights Commission, would be something. They could give us more ideas about how to move forward. They did make a recommendation of baby steps, because you want to really go slowly in trying to develop these platforms for dialogue. And then also community resources. What are the resources out there that we can do? And then promoting inclusivity, strategies to promote more inclusivity, to being able to be people who listen to.
So the Community Conflict Resolution Unit previously presented to our commission, as you may remember. But this is we spoke specifically to them about perhaps helping us either in teaching us the skills needed to bring intergroups together and just have a conversation, or if they could help facilitate those conversations in a very small, very controlled setting, maybe one or two individuals talking to one or two individuals to facilitate them having a better understanding of what those individuals have in common rather than focusing on the differences. So again, as Commissioner Rankin mentioned, their focus is on, and they really believe that for us to take this initiative on, it would have to be in very small baby steps over a very long period of time. And it would take a lot of work of this commission to make it happen, so.
And what they did say, Kendra and Greg, what they did say was that this is really a very big issue throughout the state of California, and there's no easy solutions.
The nice thing about this is that there's no cost. They are a free service currently, assuming they get funding at the state level. So there would be very little cost on our part, but
And there's another organization, Civility. Did you want to talk about that,
Well,
David?
we can mention, they actually referred us to another organization that they have worked with, other. Municipalities and organizations have worked with, it's a group called Civity. And they do a lot of work in this area of conflict resolution and helping people just kind of bring the heat down and talk with one another, learn more about one another. So we're trying to set up a basic introductory
In
meeting.
small-
but
in small groups, they work, they're kind of the baby step groups that we were referred to.
Again, we don't want to go too far down the path of doing anything with this initiative unless the entire commission gives us their blessing, and then of course we'll have to get the council's buy-in. But this is just a concept, please,
Yeah.
concept.
Jeremy, the Civility, the handout that they sent, I don't know, David, if you sent it, but if you could send it out to the rest of the.
We can provide you with this
Yeah.
PDF of their
So I
organization.
guess the upshot here is that we have consultative services that are of no cost, that are really have lots of experience in this space. So that is something exciting. How we decide to go forward is subject to discussion. And then finally,
Next one.
the next one,
Oh.
with development steps, we kind of already gone through there. Okay, the next one, March for, the next slide. March for Peace and Community in Candlelight Visual. I think, David really came up with this, but this is, I think, a very exciting, kind of a long-term type of, not long-term, but planning in the next 9 to 10 months. Having an interfaith participation.
Next slide.
Yeah, David, a list of 23 people.
Actually, 27,
Oh.
actually 27. So this is kind of modeled after what I saw occur in Los Angeles by the faith community there in response to the turmoil that they were experiencing recently, that I'm sure you're all aware of with the immigration border control. And so I did reach out to both the rabbi, and I also reached out to the United Methodist Church, Pastor Jane, and they both immediately thought that this was an excellent idea and that they would be certainly willing to participate. And they referred me to a lot of other faith community leaders, and there's about 27 of them here in Palm Springs. Now, we have not reached out to the other 25 yet, because again, I don't want to start going down that path if the commission is not supportive of this occurring and the council doesn't back us on it. And it's something that Pastor Jane and the rabbi both thought would be viable for a fall initiative. Because we're expanding it to focus on all victims of hate crimes, hate incidents.
This is the beauty. This is for all victims of human rights. This is not any one select
abuse.
population. Abuse, discrimination, of violence, genocide, the G word. Anyhow, but we're not, again, focusing on any group. It's for, really, I mean, there's so much war and violence in the world. This would be a way of wanting to honor those victims and bringing the community together in a way that community solidarity, that we come together regardless of what our ethnic associations or religious affiliations are whoever we are, whatever we are. Anyway, it just seems like something that we really would fit well with the Human Rights Commission.
So it would be kind of under our sponsorship, if you will. But I think all the faith communities, I assume they would all want to participate. I can't speak for the other 25, but at least first two thought it was a very worthwhile idea to pursue. And in fact, Pastor Jane thought it would be nice to conclude the march with a community potluck dinner that everyone would contribute to. And it would bring people in our community together. But again, it's just a concept. I think the next slide talks about maybe some of the things we would have to, look at and what the role really would be for the faith community to participate in this and help get the word out through their own communities. But we would also have to do some of the promotion, if you will, of this occurring whenever we decided if we wanted to occur. So there's some
Yeah.
planning that would have to go into this.
We would be partnering with the interfaith community. Yeah, I just want to, make that clear, which is
There one-
positive spin.
I think there's one more.
Yeah, there is the event logistics.
Oh, the logistics.
Yeah, organizing, securing permits, community promotion. Lots of work would go into this, but if we have our partners, a subcommittee, commission, as well as the religious leaders who would also sponsor this. And I think that really is it.
That kind of leads us to our next
Yes.
task.
I'm not, the last, the
Sorry,
commission's
sorry.
next step.
Is there one more?
It's.
Oh, the conclusion.
Yeah. I think these are all the goals of the Human Rights Commission: advocacy, community engagement, education, and empowerment.
One more,
One more.
I think.
Yeah.
There we go.
So.
So basically, we have 3 ideas, 3 concepts. We wanted to report back to you for discussion. We're looking for your feedback. If you have any new ideas, if you think these are worth pursuing, we're happy to, with other commissioners' engagement in this, we can do some more planning. If you think the 3 ideas are not worthwhile, we're fine with that. Again, it will take work, and we're happy to do some of the work. We cannot do it alone. And therefore, we're looking for input from the commission as to what our next step should be. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that presentation, Commissioner Vigneault and Nikki. And any follow-up questions for Commissioner's report? No?
Yeah, well, I just want to compliment you.
Yeah.
both. I mean, really,
See?
it just feel this commission, the meeting. Well, it's really taking off in the right direction from the time that I joined. Really feels good. Thank you.
Good for that.
So,
Okay, so
do
we,
you like them? Do you like the 3 ideas? Do you want to think about it? Do you hate them? I mean, that's the 3 options.
I'll jump in. So as somebody who does event planning for a living and shows and no, don't get too excited.
Okay.
My mind is spinning of all the things that could go wrong with this. Okay, so that's what you do, right? You always start with what could go wrong. So the documentary screening, right? So that's already happened, which is great. There's other options, but who's verifying that everything in that documentary is absolutely 100% correct fact and not propaganda, right? Because that's something when I would do things on like CNN or CNN International, we had to have everything vetted. It took so long, and I know I don't have the time to do that, and I'm sure you don't have the time to screen these, go back and check every quote, every photo, everything that's presented. That's part of the risk of presenting something like that, which I have to say, the documentary screening sounds great, but it does sound one-sided as well, right? It's presenting one side of an argument.
Depends on what you're presenting, doesn't it?
Well, the documentaries that were shown, right? That's one side of what's happening. Am I misunderstanding? The documentary that was shown, the first
The
one. we
one,
talked
No
about.
Way Out was shown. But
Yes.
there are other films we could look at showing. So there's a plethora of documentaries or films that we could investigate showing.
yeah,
Okay.
It doesn't have to be that film. If we as a commission could vet and actually look at another film and decide, oh,
yeah.
this makes sense and maybe we should show it to the community. That's where we're going with it. It doesn't have to be that film, be any film.
Right.
You could suggest a film or a documentary that you know of. So I'm just looking at the concept of us
This
showing something to the community.
This particular film, though, had won an Academy Award and had been selected by Rabbi David Lazar and Aziza Hassan, and they facilitated a conversation after the filming. It was sort of kind of a model of trying to get people to listen to other people's.
So I mean, I could look for reviews of this particular film and see what the critics say about it, since it has a momentum. I could suggest that I could do it, actually.
Again, we can look for something else
Yeah.
too. There's
Yeah.
lots of other educational films. We could present you with a list of 6 and you could pick one from. So I'm just looking for conceptually does the commission think showing a documentary, some documentary that deals with conflict and its resolution worth exploring?
Go, Jeremy.
I think what we should do is when we get to, again, commissioner comments and requests. I'm seeing definite interest around the room. If someone wants to make a motion and we get concurrence with the group. We can bring it back we don't meet in August, but the September meeting, and I think that's where you can get the answers that you're looking for, Vice Chair Goodmello.
Yeah,
So basically, you're gonna table this till September
the decision.
8th
We-
on anything, any of the 3 recommendations.
Correct.
So you're just, all right.
Am I tabling it? No, the commission has received your presentation. Because it was listed, that's all we're getting here is
Report out.
presentations, we can have the questions. But.
The only problem with that, Jeremy, is that if we have any desire, for example, of doing this March vigil, candlelight vigil in the fall, waiting for this commission to give us your blessing on September 8th, almost assures that nothing will happen with it in the fall. There's just not enough time, correct me, event planner, to put something like, I mean, I don't wanna reach out to the other 25 faith community members now and say, well, we might do it. Are you interested? I mean,
Why,
that's my dilemma.
why the September timeline, or why the fall timeline?
Well, it could be the spring. I
I
I
mean,
don't
we
think,
need planning, if we're gonna be doing event planning, I think we need a lighter, one
I
layer
agree with
of
that.
planning.
I could think of a potential recommendation, and you said, Jeremy, I'm not a voting member of this commission, but what I may recommend to the chair is if someone in number 10 wants to make a request for perhaps a special meeting, and there is concurrence of the group, perhaps you could get back together as an entire group prior to September to make some of these decisions.
that's
But your
fine.
next regularly scheduled meeting is September 8th.
September 8th. Yes, I agree with that recommendation. Jeremy.
Okay.
Okay,
If I may just say, thank you for your presentation. It was very, very informative, something I need to think about.
That's fair.
thank you so much.
We don't need to accept everything lock, stock and barrel, can,
Okay. So should we move to 5D, World Fund attendance report by Commissioner Vice Chair Leo, please?
So,
Give me a moment and I'll pull up your.
I'll be real brief. Really, the slides speak for themselves. I just want to mention it was a worthwhile experience to go to the Human Rights Conference as part of World Pride. I think the value of making connections was very important. I did list some key takeaways that you can take away with you tonight and think about. I think the one that I really want to focus on is that, all human rights commissions that I spoke to around the country are struggling with how to address the ongoing threats to marginalized communities. We heard from Equality California about that as well. But we're not alone in our challenges. I did find that it was interesting that some of the human rights commissions focused on ways to reach their communities, their constituencies through very unique tools, both use of social media, robust websites, things like even these buttons that are produced at very minimal cost by the DC Office of Human Rights have on the back of them QR codes. And they hand these out at all of their community events. And all you have to do is scan the QR code and it will bring you to a list of the services that they offer to their residents of the District of Columbia. And I thought that was such a cool way of easily getting out information about human rights to the people that need to know what do they do when their human rights are being violated or possibly they need some services. And so I thought this was a very interesting mechanism that maybe we could eventually look into deploying here in Palm Springs. I don't see, it's not a high cost item, and yet it's very effective, so. There will be a report that I'll be getting in the end of July. I'll make sure Jeremy gets that, so that can be distributed to all the commissioners. And finally, I think the other thing I learned from this, attending this conference was the importance of reaching out to educators, to get the word out to educators and have them start putting that into curriculums. What are human rights? Why are they important? And how are they being threatened? And so I think maybe that's something this commission might want to look at, ways of engaging with our own local educators to make sure that, you know, the issue of human rights is somehow being incorporated into the curricula that's our youth are being exposed to, because that's gonna be, I think, key. If we can kind of educate the young people about human rights, then our chances of enjoying what's left of human rights will be that much more possible in the future. So I think I'll leave it at that in this sake of time. But I'm happy to answer any questions if you have them.
Just one quick item. David and I had papered in on a schedule for the next Human Rights Commission meeting to have the the community conflict resolution attorneys attend and give a presentation.
Oh, that wasn't asked.
Yeah, yeah.
We can make that request.
When we get to 10.
You can discuss that today at number,
I know we will.
actually number 9A, discussion item, we have continued.
Yes.
Yeah,
We'll bring that up.
discuss.
Sorry,
Again.
okay.
I only want to, all right, we'll wait till 9 a.m. Let's move on.
Okay, thank you so much for that presentation, David. Item 6 is approval of minutes, and I would like to ask for a motion to approve minutes for our meeting on June 9th, 2025. And do I have a motion? Commissioner Enrique, I have a second, Commissioner Soja and Commissioner Strong. Any further discussion on the minutes? None heard, please raise your hand saying aye. To approve the minutes. Minutes approved.
I'll abstain since I was not there.
I will also abstain because I was not present at the June 9th meeting.
Okay. Item number 7, which is public comments. We have public comments.
We do Abraham Michet.
Abraham? This time is set aside for members of the public to address Human Rights Commission on agenda items. And items of general interest within the subject matter jurisdiction of the commission. Although the commission values your comments, pursuant to the Brown Act, we generally cannot take any action on items not listed or posted in the agenda. You have 3 minutes aside. Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. In October 2023, the Palm Springs City Council passed a resolution of the City Council of the City of Palm Springs, California, expressing its support for the State of Israel. It was framed as a call for peace, but in reality, it was a one-sided endorsement of a government engaged in the ongoing occupation and dispossession of Palestinians. Since that resolution, tens of thousands of Palestinians have been killed, entire families have been buried under rubble, babies have died in incubators, civilians have been gunned down while waiting in line for humanitarian aid, while trying to access flour and basic medical supplies. Just this past weekend, Saif Muslat, a 21-year-old Palestinian American man, was beaten to death by Israeli settlers when attending a funeral in the West Bank. And yet, the council has remained silent, and I assume will continue to remain silent. They found time to pass a resolution in support of a powerful nuclear-backed state, but have said nothing about its killing of civilians, its destruction of homes, or even the death of an American citizen. Let's be clear, Hamas is labeled a terrorist organization for resisting occupation and seeking to reclaim land. Israeli settlers, meanwhile, are actively stealing land, bulldozing homes, torching villages, and committing acts of violence, supported by the Israeli military. One is resisting, the other is colonizing. But only one side received a resolution of support from our council, which brings me my previous recommendation, the appointment of a council liaison to the Human Rights Commission. which we now know as Councilmember Gardner. If the council can pass a resolution in support of Israel while ignoring the extermination of civilians waiting for aid, if they can remain silent after settlers kill an American citizen, how can this community trust them to appoint a credible liaison to this council, to this commission? How can we be confident that they will take this commission's work seriously, especially when it comes to international human rights, racism, and accountability? I urge this commission to hold the council accountable, ask them to revisit their resolution, call on them to condemn the killing of Sheikh Musalat, and ask whether their silence today aligns with the values they claim to uphold. Also, it's been said that no other land is one-sided, but this council passed a resolution last year that was entirely one-sided, offering unconditional support to one government without acknowledging the suffering or displacement of the other side. If we're going to criticize one-sided narratives, let's be consistent and start here at home. The whole point of me requesting documentaries like No Other Land is to offer the kind of perspective that was missing from that resolution. And let's also remember, it was this same commissioner who once said we should leave our personal opinions at the door. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Atkinson. Okay, and that concludes public comments. Any other further public comments not online? Okay. So we're gonna move now to item 8 on the agenda, which is new business, and this includes appointments from the elections to chair and vice chair for the next year. And we'd like to welcome Madam Clerk. Thank you so much for being with us.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Okay.
Brenda and I had a quick conversation before we got here. I was not present during the last round of elections. I reached out to Jay Barada and he indicated that it looks like there was a call for nominations. People gave a quick, I don't know if we call it a speech, but some sort of quick comments, and then we had a vote around the room. So I've given Brenda that encouragement that we may do that the same way. Is that appropriate for Brenda to conduct it that way?
Sounds very appropriate. That's kind of how we'll be handling this.
Brenda, the party is yours.
So.
Okay, good afternoon. I'm only here to conduct the nomination of your chair and your vice chair this afternoon. I want to thank all of you for your service on this commission. New members, welcome. And certainly anything we can do in the city clerk's office to accommodate and help you through this process or get information out or so forth. We're willing to do that. So, but my role this evening is clearly to help you with the election of your chair and your vice chair. At this time, nominations are now in order for the position of chair. Do we have any nominations for chair?
I'm self-nominating.
Self-nominating? Okay. Any further nominations?
I will self-nominate as well.
Any further nominations? Okay, seeing none, without objection, the nominations are closed. I have Mr. Loyola, is that correct? As chair, well, as nominated, and Mr. Vignola. Did I say that correct? Is that correct?
Vignola, but you can call me David.
David. So at this point, we'll have all in favor. Oh, I forgot. Y'all like to talk.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, good comment.
we'll take your comments at this time. Sorry.
David, you want to go first?
Sure. Thank you. I wrote them down, so I wanted to be clear. In today's world where human rights are both celebrated and challenged with equal intensity, the role of a Human Rights Commission chair demands vision, empathy, diplomatic prowess, and unwavering dedication. It is with this awareness and genuine passion for justice that I seek the position of chair of the Human Rights Commission. My qualifications are rooted in a deep understanding of the principles that define human rights, a proven history of advocacy, and a dynamic approach to leadership that is both inclusive and forward-thinking. Since I was first appointed to the Commission in April 2021, I have shown a steadfast commitment to human rights and social justice. Beginning with my work on the first anti-bullying symposium hosted by the city in April 2022, as well as my numerous community engagements such as educating seniors at the James O. Jesse Desert Highland Community Center in September 2023 about our commission, to my numerous appeals last year to the city council to allow us to resume normal business. I believe I have shown through tangible actions that my advocacy for human rights for all members of our community is not theoretical. These experiences have instilled in me a sense of urgency and a commitment to ensuring that this commission's work remains both impactful and grounded in the lived realities of those we serve. As the vice chair over these past 2 years, I believe I have demonstrated that I have the skills needed in the areas of organizational management and policy advocacy required to move this commission forward and keep it relevant in the years ahead. Whether advocating for our commission with council members or collaborating with grassroots organizers, I believe I have shown that I approach each challenge with respect and a belief in the transformative power of dialogue. I believe fundamentally that the success of this commission must be built upon the principles of inclusion and representation of all voices. My leadership style is rooted in participatory engagement and transparent communication. If elected chair, I would strive to make the commission a more accessible and accountable body. I am ready to work with each of you to expand outreach to underrepresented communities, to put in the hard work to develop policy recommendations for our council to consider that would continue to reflect the diversity of the Palm Springs community that we aim to protect. I am committed to look for additional ways we might engage with the community and promote public dialogue and feedback. I am committed to fostering an environment where every individual feels heard, valued, and empowered to contribute. Here in Palm Springs, the challenges facing human rights today are both urgent and evolving. We must remain agile and innovative. My vision is to position this commission at the forefront of the myriad issues we will be tasked with addressing, ensuring that our work is proactive, intersectional, and locally informed. Results matter. Throughout my time on this commission, I have delivered measurable outcomes in advancing human rights in our community. I believe that my engagement to make our commission more visible, whether it's by staffing a table at Village Fest or co-presenting to 1PS, which I did with Commissioner Rankin in March 2024, has helped move this commission forward, but there is much more that we can do. The landscape of human rights is constantly evolving, requiring leaders who are committed to ongoing learning and growth. This is why I decided it was important to attend the Human Rights Conference this year at World Pride to help ensure the Commission remains informed, relevant, and responsive to the needs of our ever-changing community. The chair of the Human Rights Commission must be a visionary, a strategist, a bridge builder, and above all, a champion for justice. I am confident that my combination of experience, dedication, and personal integrity uniquely positions me to fulfill this role. I am ready to lead this commission and to do the demanding work necessary to ensure that the fundamental human rights of every individual resident of Palm Springs are not only recognized, but actively protected and promoted through our city's policies and programs. I look forward to working with each of you to take this journey together, to advance the cause of human rights here in Palm Springs, and create a community where justice, dignity, and equality are truly universal. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, David, for that. My fellow commissioners, I'd like to take a moment this evening to formally request your vote to continue serving as chair of the Human Rights Commission. Over the course of this year, we have returned from hiatus, and we're working together to reestablish our presence and purpose, culminating in a presentation to the mayor and the city council that reaffirm our value as a commission aligned with the city's 2025 strategic plan and its objectives. The work is very much ongoing. We are in the process of modernizing chapter 2.45 of our city code, clarifying our scope and updating the code to reflect current equity standards. We're actively engaging with national, state, and local partners as we shape a number of belonging dialogue series with every one of these organizations for public consumption. This is designed to bring meaningful and timely conversations to our public during our commission meetings. And I would love for us to work and engage with other departments and other commissions as well, for example, with the planning department, to explore how the commission can contribute equity-focused recommendations to the zoning code update and other accessibility improvements. Meanwhile, we continue strengthening our internal practices, from improving how we evaluate community service awards, to clarifying how we work at human rights issues in our community and communicate those insights to City Council through our staff liaison, Jeremy Hammond. I'm very proud of the foundation that we're building, and I believe continuing leadership will be important in carrying these efforts forward. My interests in remaining chair of this commission are grounded in that belief. Steady, inclusive, focused leadership that can help us fully realize the commission's potential. I remain committed to working transparently, collaboratively, and in full partnership with each and every single one of you. I respectfully ask for your vote of confidence to continue in this role, and I thank you all for the work that you bring to this commission. Thank you.
So at this time, Commissioner Hugo, we'll take yours first. Jeremy, if you would please do a roll call vote for us.
I have to make a motion. So these are not secret ballots. We're publicly declaring who we're supporting.
Correct, I'll call names and you'll
You say yes?
identify. Help me out?
Yes, you, when he does a roll call vote, you'll say yes or no. So yays or nays.
You know, I would just like to make a comment that public kind of voting does not create cohesion amongst the group if we have two of our leaders competing against one another. Anyhow, I'm just not, I'm really not comfortable with the roll call vote. I'm just, for the record.
Just writing names around the room real fast.
Can she,
Sure, I miss no
can
one.
you say on a vote like this?
You can abstain if you don't want to.
Okay.
Clearly,
Call
but
for, can't we call for a
Written ballot.
hidden ballot?
Yeah, written ballot.
no,
This
this is a public, it's a public meeting, you know, and so, and to stay in compliance with the Brown Act, everything that we do with the city, as we conduct business has to be done in a public forum.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
so we can say A's, everybody can say yes as an agreement, and you can say no, but I think because we have two candidates, the only way to get a clear, knowledge of who actually would win this vote would be to take a roll call vote. Sorry.
So could you, for clarification, can you tell us exactly what we're voting on? Are we voting?
Okay,
Name or what?
Commissioner Hugo was nominated for chair, and so we'll be voting yes or no on his nomination.
So yes would be that you want Chair Loyola to remain chair. No would mean you do not want Chair.
Correct, and your name would be called next until
Okay,
the
just
person.
want to be clear, so
Yes.
people understand.
What about abstentions? How does that work into this? Is an abstention a no? Well,
It's a good question. We don't, I've not ran into that question since I've been doing elections for our commissions.
So an abstention would not be read in as a positive
It
or
would
negative
not.
vote, it would be a true abstention. What we're looking for here is a majority. So if we get
Right.
5 yeses, that's going to be who becomes the new chair.
A simple majority.
Yes,
Okay, so if you had one abstention, it would be the majority of 8.
no, it would still be a majority of the entire board, so we still need 5 members to say.
I think it's the person with the highest number of votes
Correct,
becomes chair.
correct.
Okay.
One way of.
Thank you, Judge.
All right, so we're voting yes or no on Commissioner Loyola continuing in the role as chair. All right, Commissioner Loyola,
Yes.
Commissioner Vignolo,
No,
Commissioner Rinky,
Abstain.
All right, Commissioner Greer,
Yes.
Commissioner Horn,
Abstain.
Commissioner Strong,
Yes.
Commissioner Remus,
Yes.
Commissioner Soja,
Yes.
Commissioner Nevins.
Yes.
All right, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 yes.
6 zeros, no's, and 2 abstentions.
That's correct. We will continue the vote for
Commissioner.
nomination of Commissioner Vignolo. Commissioner Loyola.
There's no point.
Right.
The majority, you would.
Majority said he would.
Record a majority, so at this point, we would conclude that Commissioner, Loyola. Did I say it wrong?
Loyola.
Loyola, I'm gonna get it.
Yes.
Loyola will be considered your chair.
Thank you.
Okay. At this time, the nominations are now in order for the position of vice chair. Do we have any nominations for
I
vice chair?
nominate myself.
Okay. Do we have any further nominations?
I nominate David. You know,
I appreciate that, but I decline.
Okay.
I don't have any intention of being chair or vice chair. Thank you, though.
Are there any further nominations? Seeing none, without objection, the nominations is closed for vice chair. And we have Commissioner Soja considered your vice chair with no opposed. Okay, so at this time, I would like to entertain a motion to accept the election of Commissioner Loya and Commissioners as your chair and Commissioner Soja as your vice chair. I would like to entertain a motion for those.
So moved. I
Second.
moved.
Have a second. Madam Secretary, would you please conduct a roll call vote, please?
We can just do, let's see. Loyola,
Yes.
Vignolo. Commissioner Vignolo,
I'm sorry, what?
we're voting on the acceptance of the election.
Right.
Oh, sure. Fine.
Rinky,
Yes.
Greer,
Yes.
Commissioner Horn.
yes.
Commissioner Strong,
Yes.
Commissioner Remus,
Yes.
Commissioner Soja,
Yes.
Commissioner Nevins.
Yes.
9-0.
Thank you. Commissioner Hugo and Commissioner Soja would serve as your chair and your vice chair. Commissioner, your meeting.
Thank you so much, Madam.
Thank you, Brenda.
Thank you. Madam Secretary. All right, so moving on to the next item on the agenda, which is any discussion of items for the continued calendar planning for 2025.
If it would be helpful, I've been keeping a list of agenda items that people have asked for at future meetings. What I have for our September meeting is we had someone from the commission had asked for a presentation from Palm Springs Pride. I've reached out to Mayor DeHart, who is willing to give a presentation, so he's tentatively on the agenda for the 8th. We have a discussion on the Community Services Awards and also the Municipal Code revision for September 8th.
Okay, that's great. I do have comments specifically with the revision of the municipal code. And while I personally have submitted my recommendations through Jeremy for the revision, I want to make sure that every single one of us has the opportunity to submit revisions and comments and feedback. And this is based on the last red line version that that Jeremy shared with all of us, and I'm thinking it was probably a couple of months ago. But I am also thinking that some of our newer commissioners might have not seen this red line version, and obviously haven't been able to be given enough time to provide your own commentary. So I want to encourage every single one of us to write your comments, to write your feedback on that version, and to send it directly to Jeremy, who's working on as a repository of all our feedback. even if you don't have specific recommendations, it would be really good for you to just let Jeremy know that you have nothing to submit. Because that's obviously the collective, and I want everyone to have the opportunity to participate in this very important project.
This version was the one that city council sent back to us with the comments about the domestic partnership.
It'll be the version that, yes,
Okay.
the one that council set back, plus revisions that occurred following the discussion we had with Attorney Christine Chacon at a prior.
Okay.
Yeah. So Jeremy, I think it would be good if we could have every one of us have another look at that version. And just for the benefit of our newer commissioners who may have not seen it yet.
I will send that out to the group.
Yeah.
And then we will agendize it for September.
For September, so everyone has plenty of time to work on your comments, your feedback, and submit those directly to Jeremy.
So what's the agenda item for September 8th?
What I have so far is PS Pride, Community Service Awards. That's something that Commissioners Rinky and Horn worked on with me, and then municipal code revision.
And that will include will that include an update on staff's work with the city attorney?
Yes.
Okay.
And what about the community conflict resolution unit?
That was a request.
That was a request.
Again, for the full commission.
Yeah, that's the time right now to ask the commission, do we want to have them at a future meeting? And if so, at what meeting would that be?
Well, they had asked, okay, I'm asking the commission, would it be possible for the conflict, for the
Community.
community conflict resolution unit to present at the September 8th meeting, specifically to share with us their recommendations on facilitating conflict resolution and what they could offer us if we wanted to pursue that. And if you don't like September 8th, then we could push it to October, I suppose. But we need to get back to them because they're holding September 8th. And it's not fair to them to keep them.
And they would be presenting an in-depth kind of toolkit or skill training that we could use going forward, either in collaboration with them, or how would we want to internally use their information?
If I may add to that, we don't meet in August. And so we have that in September 8th. That's a lot to be done with us not meeting in August. I think the September 8th date should be postponed and for a later date. If we're considering this at all.
I'm a little confused. I thought as a commission, we had agreed that we weren't really in a position to deal with conflict resolution since we're not a judicial commission. So what would we gain by having I mean, what are we trying to do here? Are we trying to be get involved in conflict resolution? I don't think that we have the expertise.
Well, we're not, Commissioner Horn, we're not advocating that we are going to resolve the conflict ourselves. We're not talking about mediation, which is where I think we're going. What we are suggesting, based on what this commission asked Commissioner Rinky and I to do, is you said come back with a recommendation on how we can address intergroup tensions. And one of the things we are looking at is how do we facilitate community dialogue? And this group has expertise in doing that. And they have offered their free services to this commission if we want to avail ourselves of it. To help us get positioned to possibly create some opportunities in the near future, hopefully, where we could facilitate community dialogue.
Okay.
But if this commission does not wish to pursue that, then let us know today so that we don't try to engage with this unit any further. They have a lot of work and they have a lot of opportunities to do it throughout the state of
I
California.
appreciate the
It's
clarification.
not fair
I
to them
do,
to.
and
keep
you
them
work towards
vacant,
it, so I now understand.
And I'd like to add that they had presented, I believe, in May, the group had presented with a slide deck previously.
I think it was March.
March, right? Anyway, so, they've been here before and explained their work. This would be just an additional insight for us to be able to handle some of the tensions in the group. We're not mediating conflict, but if we try to promote dialogue in a way that doesn't.
So we can certainly move it to October. It's not. It's not September, October, just realize that as we continue to kind of essentially kick the can down the road, things just will take longer for things to happen. So whatever the majority of the commission wants, I think it would be beneficial for you to hear directly from this unit as to what they're offering to do, whether it's in September or October, that's up to you.
So am I hearing that this is sort of a motion so that we can bring them back to present?
We'll
Yes.
have trying to get.
Have a discussion?
Yes,
So it will be a presentation.
it is a presentation.
Well, I would ask, we're gonna tie our hands if we do it as a presentation. If you want to have a discussion about it, have them come in and let's put it on the discussion calendar. They can still give a presentation, but it will allow them.
I just need to know what months of the year you wanted to be able to show that.
It's not my call.
I would recommend October with everything you got.
And if the majority agrees with October, then we will let them know.
I'd like to add that you want to get some impetus to be able to do something greater, which is what we have proposed to you, a kind of vision. And, we've seen some of the community service award has been being revised over a 2-year period. It seems like some of our activities are just stretched out, just like the municipal code. So I think it behooves us to be able to sort of act more promptly in order to be able to establish some action. October is fine, but I would think.
So who will reach out to them to schedule that for October 13th? You'll do that?
I'm happy to do that, or I'll work with one. We'll both.
Yeah.
So,
Very educational. Yeah.
Okay. Wonderful. Thank you so much for that. Any additional comments or requests from commissioners?
I do, I have 2 or 3, I think. I'm gonna be very specific. This is requesting that this be added to the September 8th agenda. A discussion of the presentation that was provided to the council by the chair at the June 17th special meeting. And specifically about the plan to provide a semi-annual report to the council of its findings and the commissioner's monitoring of human rights conditions. This would be a discussion of the initiative that the chair mentioned about collaborating with national, state, and local organizations in support of the citywide equity and belonging dialogue series. So just asking to better understand the chair's vision for these items, if he or Jeremy or whomever shares with us their vision and how it will be executed. So that is my specific request for an agenda item.
I see you looking at me, but I'm not involved in this
Correct.
conversation.
So how does this work? How do we get there?
You're moving to request this, it has to be actually second or discussed in.
The way it's done at city council is there's just a simple looking around the room and we're nodding. We get a majority of people saying, yes, this is something I'd like to have on the agenda. That's sufficient.
So that's what I'm asking my other fellow commissioners, do you wish to learn more about what was presented to the council at our June 17th special meeting? Because speaking for myself only, I am not clear on what was presented as key actions for this commission. There were several in that presentation that I personally had no knowledge about. Perhaps you all do, but I think it was a great vision that was presented. I'd like to learn more about how this commission plans on actually executing it and fulfilling what was promised to the council. Am I being clear? I see.
I'm glazing over on
And
that.
what can I say?
Can I comment? I understand what you're saying. I wasn't confused. I guess you're saying you thought there were things included that you weren't aware of, is what I took from that.
Well, things were included that I don't know were ever discussed by the commission, and so I don't know how we're going to fulfill them. Who's doing the work? For example, who's doing the work of putting together the semi-annual report to council of our findings and our monitoring of human rights conditions? What is that, and when is it due, and who will be doing the work? I'm just asking for clarification and for us to discuss that, because I missed it. Either I wasn't at a meeting or.
So. That's
Let me understand it,
Should
Jamie.
we vote for the motion?
Well, I'm not sure if it's a motion. I'm asking to put it on the agenda September 8th for discussion. I thought that was the proper thing to do.
Perhaps I can help facilitate this. We understand what you're asking for. Around the room, do we have a majority of the group that would like to have this as a discussion item at a subsequent meeting? Like here I see a head shaking no.
I'm not.
Okay, so
Yeah.
no, and hearing no. So it looks like a majority of no's.
Okay, you understand where you're at here.
Yeah, I would say, I don't know, I would say no at this point.
All right,
I-
so that's fine. So
Yeah,
you said
okay.
you had 3 items. So that's your first item. What's your second item?
Second item, I'd like to ask that on the agenda be discussion and the adoption possibly of the draft rules and procedures of the commission that I believe Commissioner Rinky and I spent weeks producing back in March of 2024. And this commission just never took them up.
Wow.
So they're out there as a draft document. I think this commission needs to adopt rules and procedures for how it plans on operating. We put a lot of work into it. This commission chose, for whatever reason, to just let them languish. So I'd like to bring that back to the commission for discussion on our September 8th meeting.
I just need some nods or hands, something to indicate yes or no.
Please.
What about the
This
October meeting?
preceded you.
That was my question. This preceded me. Okay.
Let's proceed. We did a lot of work for months to produce rules and procedures for how this commission would function and operate. We were tasked with doing that. And then they just never went anywhere.
So, but we're still functioning, right?
We're still.
I mean, it's
If you can call
minutia.
it that, I disagree, but that's.
We've got commissioners that have with no idea.
We would be more effective if we had a standard operating procedures for how this commission will function.
It predates me as well.
It predates me, but I, when I joined, it was explained to me how the meetings run. Is that what you mean? How meetings are run and how we adopt things and how we push them forward?
I would
There's a lot
talk
more than that document, if anybody's took the time to look at it.
about these things, about, if Commissioner misses so many meetings, then they're supposed to be,
Yeah, I mean,
let go. Yeah, but maybe we can take this on a back burner and then try to present it at October meeting. Jeremy, if you can send out the document to us, and then we can look it over and maybe by email to you, make some decisions. It's really late.
That's assuming we want it on the agenda.
Yeah, I'm
People-
more laissez-faire about this. Okay,
okay.
I personally would like to see it in print.
Well, it is in print, it's. Jeremy has it, Jeremy can distribute it, all I'm asking for is that we revisit it and bring it up for discussion. At a subsequent meeting, preferably September or October.
I'm seeing 3 people saying yes. We have 2 more people saying yes. There's interest.
I would love to read it, yes.
Yes.
I would.
Yes, yes,
Great.
we're in.
My last item for the agenda at subsequent meeting is to understand or have a discussion with the commission about the role and responsibilities. As we mentioned in our presentation for this council liaison, I'd like to understand what council member Garner has agreed to do in terms of a liaison. Then perhaps we could invite her to come to our September meeting and share with us her vision for what a council liaison to this commission will be and how frequently we might see her.
Yes, 4 yes, 5 yes.
Yes,
Thank you.
extend the invitation for sure.
I will extend the invitation.
Okay. So with that, any further comments or requests? Shall we move to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Oh, sorry, I have one more, sorry. Just something that bothered me. I don't understand how a local press outlet got the details of the presentation that happened today before we did. I found that unfair to the entire commission that we weren't allowed to view and now there's a public the public perceives that either we were not for this or we were against the way the article was written. I felt it was a little unfair that things were given to the press before they were given to us. Because we didn't have a chance to even look at what the presentation, I enjoyed it, I wish I had seen it. But the idea that it was sort of set up as like, this is some big battle cry, I don't think that was fair to this entire commission, who at least deserved to see it. Before it was released.
So what we'd like to discuss, the interaction with press, is that included in the rules? That you worked on, is that included in the rules?
So,
I don't, probably,
wait a minute, did somebody leave?
first of all, it wasn't
Second.
released.
Yeah,
To the press.
Palm Springs Post.
Palm Springs Post.
They didn't have the,
Nobody's-
I was taken back by it also when I read it. I'm like, oh wow, where'd they get this information from?
Yeah, I felt blindsided because obviously I received texts from people saying, what is this? And I said, we haven't seen the document yet, and I was excited to see it. So I didn't understand how that came about, and I just personally, I'm only speaking for myself here personally, I felt blindsided. I mean, there
Are you
were
asking
quotes,
for-
yeah, I don't know how it happened.
Commissioner Strong?
Also got like emails and text messages, and I was like, I don't know how to respond because I had no clue I didn't know it was an issue. So I also agree with what you're saying.
All right, so we're hearing a majority of people that want to have a discussion
Yes.
about
How'd they
this
get the
commission's
information before we had it?
interaction with.
And also
The
too, you
press.
can distribute that article that they're referencing, because it's clear that some commissioners have not had a chance to read the article that we're talking about, or that's being referenced.
So I will send the article to the entire commission, and perhaps the place to include this in the discussion will be in the roles and. I forget the
Rules and procedures.
rules and procedures. That could be something that is included in that document to the
Thank you
press,
for that.
press communication.
I agree with that.
I'm glad you brought it up, because I was like, how'd they get all this?
Yeah, right. Now we'll go to Commissioner Rinky's adjournment.
That we adjourn.
You got dinner on.
Culture in the secretary. So let me just officially adjourn. The commission will adjourn to a regular meeting scheduled on Monday, September 8th, 2025. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Good night.
Have a great summer, everybody.
Thank you.
Yes.
Right now, August, middle.
Okay.
Oh, no.
I'm sorry. That's it. I had a very light on you,
See,
See the airport announced there's a flight now direct from here to me.
Oh,
United,
you're united.
right now that's 3. It's great.
And Newark is just so close to New York City.
So easy.